Hello, hello. We are doing the smoke room, I think. Ah, yeah. Yep, okay. We're just gonna get right into it, I think. I slide down to the floor, feeling the hard plank dig into my knees. I hear him softly plucking the buttons. His fabric shifts. Whiff it. Man, I still can't take this dialogue seriously. Oh, sorry. I lean in to obey. I smell his sweaty, musky, very metal. No need to build up tension, darling. Suck it. I spread my arms are spread on the bed, uh holding me stable as I dip down. His tip is already wet. He needs this. I hear him suck in the air hastily as my lips part. It's hot and warm in my mouth. Mm, my licks are loud and sloppy. He tends to like that. Before long, ropes splash on my snout, uh, si- sinking into my fur. Nothing prettier than white on black. He drags his dick across my face, smearing the cum into my uh, uh, snout markings. You're good at this. I wipe a little off of my snout. That's precariously close to my eyes. It's not so difficult. Rude to reject a compliment. Uh, you'll do well in my books if you keep pants loose and keep tongues looser. Might even save an innocent man from getting uh, dragged so a murder can waltz free. Murderer can waltz free. Yeah. I'm a whore, not a spy, William. Any smart whore is a spy. Smart whores live longer, especially if the law is in their favor. A blind eye here and there is what you need more than anything. The coyote starts getting dressed. He stated that more than like a fact than a threat, but I can't help but feel like it's both. I want to tell him the truth, but I can't help but feel like that could be more stupid than I could ever do. He does not need to know everything about me. William already has his clothes and shirt back on. Do what you do and be my eyes after dark. I can't keep tabs on as many folks as I'd like with all of the new folks moving in. Why don't you do this yourself if you think it's so insightful? 'Cause I ain't a cocksucker. I already carved out my way to be of use. You, not so much, fella. But it would make both of our lives easier. As long as you're the sheriff. As long as I'm sheriff. William shakes his shaggy head and grunts, raising from the bed as he pulls on his suspenders. You'll learn about the world quick enough. Quicker would be better, I might add. He sighs. Anyway, clean yourself up. Before you talk to me outside, I need waitresses to be better reason for my visit tonight. Then I need witnesses. That's what I meant. Witnesses to be a better reason for my visit tonight. Okay. Peaches. The first thing I do is make my way to the wash bowl and start scrubbing. The water is cloudy soon enough that with what William left behind, but the citrus oil masks enough of his smell. I grunt, then my length presses against the dresser. William tend to me bleh, doesn't tend to me finishing before he leaves. The clear stain of my trousers has to be taken care of before I go speak with the sheriff in front of others. At least I won't have to wait to be ready for another customer soon. William waits for me at the bar, quietly. He's ordering something, chatting loudly with that fox from before. I take a seat between the two of them, which they must have arranged for intentionally. Let's get down to business, then. Murdoch sniffs the air. You mean you hadn't already? William shoots him a look. Not in the least. Alcohol and debauch makes a loan out of a sane man, and much worse out of the trash. If our murderer exists, he makes a sucker out of the best medicine for the guilt. Pleasures that distract among people proper society tends to forget. Or at least pretends to forget. Proper bookkeeping covers blind spots. I think I'm starting to understand. Which means you might need to meet some of the ladies. They'll give us access to the men. The men I can't access. But they can't say that out here, can they? You'll wait in the powder room then, Cynthia. The fox hurries over our way, ready to lead the way. I'm not here very often. Usually because what am I doing? Usually because I choose not to be. It's a bit too periwinkle for me. And nothing humbles you more than a whore than a space guaranteed to give you no interested prospective client, whatever. The girls chatter on the sofas while Cynthia leads me to the madame. William, I need a few words. Madame places her chin on her wrist as she stares to William's eyes, dark and sparkling in the candlelight. Pray that they engross me. My attention span is short, and my patience for God-fearing men is shorter. I'll be short then. Your sort usually are. Her groan billows as she rises, and she gestures to the doorway across the hall. She gives William her wrist. He takes it, and she leads him into the office. I can almost hear their muffled voices until a sudden squeak distracts me. You're here! Christ almighty. This one has a bit of spunk to him. A bit of what? I can show you what I mean if you're willing to spend the night with me. She winks at the weasel, giving him that shy trace of her best smile. A tempting offer. But if I must be honest, I am most curious about an experience with Sam here. If I'm stubborn enough to take a beating for that, then I'm stubborn enough to seek a unique opportunity. The inside of the weasel's ears blush. The looks he's giving me are a bit passionate. Not so much in a lusty way. I'm afraid he might not understand that this is just a job. Perhaps that kiss was a mistake. But anyone would have needed a kiss after putting up with, well, Echo. I'm booked tonight, unfortunately. This isn't even a lie. Nikolai is my regular today. But it's not unusual for Nick to suddenly cancel. He's not always the most reliable customer, even if he is a good friend. Then I will double your usual price. I want to put in that my bookings aren't for sale to the highest bidder, but they are earnestly are. But Madame had warned me about passionate customers. Obsession can easily lead to heartbreak and violence. I am not entirely sure yet that I want to take the weasel's money. I'll consider if my regular client cancels, which happens often enough, but I cannot guarantee an immediate booking without prior arrangements. The weasel visibly wilts. I do understand. You are a professional, after all, and you have to ensure the health of your livelihood. I will make reservations if I cannot book tonight. So is this fella with the... So is the fella with cold feet, then? I try to figure out who Cynthia is talking about, and when I turn and jump, forgetting that the fox is still there. I'm a little bit unnerved by how quiet he can be. Unfortunately not, my dear. I'm here for business, not for pleasure. But your pleasure is our business. Aren't I right, Sam? I grunt. Then you should have charged me already. I'm having a lovely time just taking in the atmosphere. I can bill you by the hour if you're that insistent. Murdoch chuckles. Not so much. I'm trained to think of ways to make money faster than I can spend it. Murdoch, mock concern wells up in Cynthia's tone. So he's after our jobs. I remember a little irritably that he did imply that I should pay him as opposed to the other way around. I don't think I'm cut out for such a thing, but in another lifetime, even if I were, I'd have to be cut from a different cloth, so to speak. My family is willful about how I spend my time and develop my trades. So the shorter story is that you're a coward. He's right, you know. I've heard that sob story before plenty of times. Grow a spine and spend some of Mommy's money to slob on a knob. Cynthia spatters into a ruckus. Chirpy laughter. I think I imagined something. For a split second, there seems to be a cold, intense hatred coming from the fox that distorts and warps his friendly features. Perhaps, before I can process what I see, his mischievous smile is there again. There's a jolly spark in his eyes. I can sense nothing but warmth now. I can only express this feeling as the onset of a migraine that stops the moment after it begins. If you want a chance at my money that bad, I'll spend a night. I mean it when I say I don't intend to pay for sex. But if we want to make this a point of personal pride, well, we're going to have to make a wager. 5 times your hourly rate to whoever has the best time. I'm not interested in uncertainties. If you book me for the night, you pay. I've got far more than money to lose if I'm caught spending the night in a brothel. Now who's the coward? Have a little more faith in your hips, Sam. 5 for 1 is a great deal. She leans in close. That family's wealthy enough to pay too. They won't be hurting for much, and they'd squash any rumor about their own son. Several of the girls scream. Cynthia looks at me, smirk wiped off her face and her eyes full of concern. There's a low chuckle outside that I recognize suddenly as the clamor of gathering voices. I look outside of the window. There are protesters arguing with one another. Most of them appear to be minors. Some of them are holding signs. One of the signs has the vestige of a young ram on it. But I can't quite tell what the words are saying during the dark. Another one of the signs has Jack's face on it. I feel something twist in my stomach. My fur bristles. I suddenly feel alone in a room full of loud, frightened people. There's a sudden feeling of hot breath on my neck, like something wants to bite into my throat. William's booming voice brings me back. Everybody hunker down tonight. I don't want to see a single soul wander into these streets. Looks like all your prospects will have to stay, Sam. I can't attend to all of them. Then attend to one of them. We're going to have to find somewhere for the rest. No, we're doing Nikolai's first. That's Well, he's my favorite of the four, and his route just got updated, so trying to catch up with for the recording so that I can get straight into that. You know how it is. While the fox's wager is tempting, it's just that, a wager. I can't go risking anything when I've already lost so much. Besides, seeing the miners out there, it reminds me that Nick could be very nearby. I can't just skip out on his appointment. I know that Nick looks forward to these nights. But there's another reason. Just thinking about Nick reminds me about something. He'd seen me after I came out of that mine, and after today's news, I swallow hard. I feel like he'd only show up if he isn't suspicious of me. Right? Maybe that doesn't make sense, but I feel like that would be the case. He'd just go tell William about me otherwise. If he showed up, he usually sits in the saloon, watching the hall for my signal. Best to check, and a good excuse to get away from all the busy chatter of the people around me. While the gashes and bruises might be healed for the most part, my head still throbs sometimes when too many people are talking at once. I just want a little peace, and maybe a little booze too. I start to sidle off towards the door when the fox suddenly puts his attention right back on me. The clock is ticking, still feeling lucky? I grimace. I don't play games while I'm working. Spend your money, or spend your time elsewhere. Not a gambling man after all. His brow wrinkles. Stay busy then. Guess I'll buzz off too. Wait, does this mean that, you are going to fit me in? I frown at the idea that the weasel has been listening in on the conversation, even if he had technically been a part of it from the beginning. Like I said, if my other client cancels, then maybe I'll be able to, but for now, I'm gonna go look for him. Ah, of course. My memory is rather lacking tonight, it seems. Murdoch's lips curl into a giant smile. Well, aren't you eager? Do try to make your room for him, Sam. You might break his heart otherwise. I'm sorry. Oh, it's nothing. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got work to do. Good luck to you, sir. But then Murdoch is already walking away, towards where I last saw William. What did he mean by that? I frown. Who can say? At that moment, Cynthia pops up next to the weasel, as if she'd been waiting for to have a moment with him this whole time. Were you able to find a bed for tonight, sir? Heavens! Oh. Well, not quite. Sam is going to check if he has an opening for me. I see. Well, I wouldn't count on it. You'll need a place to stay, and lucky for you, the situation outside has left my night wide open. Ah, yes. I will certainly keep that in mind. That's all I'm able to hear as I've been making my way to the door, leaving the crowded room behind. Just before I make my exit, I can see Cliff with one foot in front of the other, as if he wants to follow me, but Cynthia is still taking his ear off. I thank the Lord for that mouth of hers. It gets quiet real quick, and I wonder why. Things should be bustling this time of night. Then, of course, I remember what's happening outside, that Harlan would have locked up if he knew what was good for us. Sure enough, when I make my way to the saloon, it's completely empty. Even Harlan isn't here. The bar empty. It sounds like the mob has mostly moved away from right in front of the brothel, and I'm only occasionally able to hear a holler every now and then. I like it, though. Finally a moment not being nagged by William or my other clients, or even Cynthia. I have this reputation of being a sad loner, and while that might be true, I don't mind it at all. It's nicer to be alone, and in a crowded city like Echo, not enough people appreciate that. I make my way to the bar, deciding to help myself. Sure, We aren't supposed to drink on work nights, but I'm under too much pressure right now, and I need something to take the edge off. Quietly, I move behind the bar, glancing at the hallway just to be sure no one's coming before I snatch a bottle of whiskey from the cabinets. I pour myself a drink into a small glass that I plucked off the bar, not really bothering to check if it's actually clean. I do feel guilty about messing around with Harlan's stock, especially after he told me about how low it is. To make myself feel less bad, I skip rummaging around for the sugars and bits. Keep it neat and only one glass. My stomach is mostly empty, so that should be enough. I sit at the bar, staring into my drink for a moment, knowing that what I'm doing right now isn't going to help me out of this mess. It's only making it worse. Even as I'm thinking this, I take my first swig, then lean back, grimacing at the burn, extra sharp because it's rye. Here I am, making a weak attempt at getting goddamn canned when I could be making double off that prissy little Botvanian weasel. Hello, Samuel. The last of my mouthful goes down completely the wrong way. The harsh but kind of pleasant sting in my throat suddenly becomes hellfire that spreads down into my lungs and up into my nose. I try to cough and gasp at the same time, having no choice but to dribble and snort into the glass so I don't make a mess. Oh dear Samuel, are you quite all right? The weasel pats uselessly at my back until I push him away, trying to wipe my mouth and nose without him seeing. Christ! Were you trying to sneak up on me? I managed to get that out before a twinge in my throat sends me into another coughing fit. No, I walked towards you very openly. You seem distracted by your drink. I finally catch my breath, though every time I suck in some air, my raw throat threatens another fit. I slouch in my seat, looking dejected at the rest of my drink, looking mighty putrid with the spit and snot floating around in it. I even considered just drinking the rest of it, but I took it all as a sign that I should stop. Looking around my feet, I find one of the spittoons and dump the rest of the whiskey in it. I'm sorry, would you like me to buy you another? I wipe my face one last time, shaking my head. We're closed, so we don't got a bartender. Oh, well, would you like me to make you a drink? I raise a brow. You know how? No, but I can always try. Don't bother. I sigh deeply, rubbing my face with my paw, feeling much more awake after nearly being murdered by my own whiskey. Seems I've caused you trouble here wherever I go. I sniff loudly, waving a paw. It's fine. I shouldn't be drinking anyway. Yes, I was surprised to see you this way. I imagine alcohol would have a negative effect on your job performance. I lean forward, propping my elbows up on the bar and resting my head in my paws. Maybe I shouldn't have kissed this guy. But I did come looking for you to see if you found your client. I suppose you have not seen him. I think for a moment, remembering that I'm supposed to be looking for Nikolai. But after seeing that deserted saloon, I just taken the opportunity to get away from everybody. Again, we're closed. Well, if that is the situation. I close my eyes, taking a deep breath, knowing what's about to be asked and knowing that I'm going to accept. I need to be working. Do you think you'll be able to fit me in? Cliff cuts himself off, looking toward the back of the saloon. I do the same, knowing that the back door is only used by us brothel workers and a few familiar customers. I can tell by the sounds that they're making that they're big, and for a moment I worry that maybe the unrest outside is about to spill into the brothel. But then whoever it is pokes their head slowly around the corner. Nick looks like he's about to say something to me, but then spots Cliff. Cliff actually jumps, taking a step back. Oh! It's quiet for a few seconds, and then the badger straightens up, trying to look like he wasn't just sneaking around. Hello. I smile without meaning to, like I usually do when I see Nick. Howdy, Nick. Cliff seems to recover, the inside of his ears turning red. Oh, hello there. Samuel, I thought you said we were closed. We are, but looks like Harlan forgot to lock the back. Sorry, should I leave? I was not sure if all of the saloon was closed. Now Nick's ears are turning red. Well, isn't it clearly closed, or... Then the weasel's face lights up. Oh, might you be looking for, madam for the night? What? I close my eyes in frustration. Nick is a private man, even more than the other men like us. I mean, a service that, satiates, more carnal desires. Nick is quiet, and I start to open my mouth to tell the weasel to scram back to the powder room, but he's already talking again. A prostitute? Another awkward second of silence before Nick finally decides on how he's going to react. What? Definitely not. Why would you assume that of me? Oh, I meant no harm. I simply assumed based on the situation. Cliff takes another step back, moving behind me. I finally step in. It's okay. Nick doesn't involve himself in that debauchery. He only comes here for a drink. I see the badger slowly relax as I wink at him. Yes. My apologies. I shouldn't have assumed. Nick doesn't say anything in response, and Cliff just squirms around in place. Cliff, maybe, you should go see Cynthia. She's waiting for you. I suppose. But the weasel doesn't move, and just as I'm about to ask him to leave in a not-so-nice way, Nick starts walking towards us. Is this a friend of yours, Samuel? Cliff stiffens again as the badger approaches, and I remember just how big Nick might look to someone new. Especially someone like Cliff. Yeah, this is Clifford. I'm Nick. Nice to meet you. If you don't mind me asking, are you from around here? Your slight accent tells me you might be from outside the country. I see Nick bristle a little, probably because he's not used to someone prying into his life. No one really does that around here. Or maybe he's just offended by having his accent pointed out. He's practiced not sounding foreign for a long time, and he barely has an accent now. Actually, he talks better than most people around here. I'm from... this is a country? I don't know. Whatever. But I've lived in this country since I was a young man, so... you don't sound native either, by the way. Well, none of us really are we? But you are correct. I am Bavanian. It's quiet as Cliff waits for Nick's response. Finally, the badger only gives a deep in response. I try to think of something to say. Aren't you guys, like, the same place? Same place? Surely you heard us say 2 separate countries just now. I frown at both of them as both of them stare. I mean, from the same area. I try to think of a goddamn name of a place that I haven't heard since school, which was a while ago. Now I'm the one turning red as both stare at me like I'm stupid or something. Europa? Yeah. So? Don't you have stuff in common? Stuff to talk about? No. Our countries have no relation whatsoever, especially with the state of the continent right now. This would be similar to saying you and Sonoran have much in common. We don't speak the same language. Now I'm getting annoyed, realizing how foolish Cliff might think I am right now. Well, we use, Suos around sometimes. Even Nick looks like he's laughing at me, and I decide I've had enough. I think you should keep keeping Cynthia waiting. I'm just, oh.
Oh, it's getting late for me, isn't it?
I thought we were going to go. I keep myself from raising my voice, but I give him a look like I really mean it, and he seems to take a hint, like he's finally realized that this is my customer. Oh, I'll take my leave then. Pleasant meeting you, Nick. I feel a little satisfied now that he's the one feeling stupid. The weasel scurries off back to the hallway, and I wonder if he's actually gonna see Cynthia. He seems odd company for someone like you. I barely know him. Does he know your work? Yeah. He does? Nick, even if he knows you're my customer, he's not gonna tell. He wants to be my client, too. Oh. The first time since he's got here, I see the badger relax completely. I don't like that he assumes what I'm here for. Yeah, I don't think he thinks about what he's saying. Already got roughed up for talking too much. I stand up and Nick follows me, taking the familiar path to my room. He should be careful. Nick lowers his voice as we move into the hall, aware of the muffled talking and laughter behind the doors. Much talk. Such talk can get you killed around here. Once we're in my room, we're able to drop our guard. Nick doesn't hesitate to hold me when I lean forward to rest my head against his chest. Are you alright, Sam? I'm tired. I am as well. I slide my paws up and down Nick's broad back, still impressed with his size, even after a year of knowing him. You're late. Yes, I'm sorry. The union organized a demonstration, and I had to go with them to show my support. I pause, thinking. Then I start to feel a little uneasy, because I remember why I'd wanted to see if Nick was here in the first place. I saw it. Heard it, too. Is someone shooting? Yeah, but it was only to warn. It gave me a chance to leave, though. I'm glad you did. Been hurting to see you. I try to change the subject, only because I'm worried that Nick really has put it all together. Nick huffs in my head as I squeeze him against me, and at the same time he starts to rub my back, then lower towards my tail. We're worried after what they found, of course. Makes sense, the whole town is. I start to slide my paw up Nick's side, pushing his shirt up. Just wanting to distract him at this point. You're moving fast. Too fast? It's fine. It's just unusual. Like I said, I've been missing you. I stop trying to take off Nick's shirt because he's not lifting his arms to help me. I settle for letting my paws rest under his shirt against his broad sides, feeling him breathe. For a moment, I'm worried that Nick's gonna bring up the demonstration thing again, but he surprises me. Did I interrupt an appointment? I frown at the badger, confused. Huh? Then I realize what he's talking about. Oh, Cliff? No, he didn't book me. I was waiting to see if you'd show up, and you did. I start to lean up to tease his mouth with a kiss, but he drops his head, sighing loudly. What? He was a paying customer, yes? Well, yeah. I'm not going to tell Nick that he was going to pay double, because Nick plays less than half. I try to nuzzle him again, but again he turns his head. You should have taken him. This is your work, and I am wasting your time if there is a fully paying customer available to take it up instead. Hey, you were booked. And I was late. You need money. I shouldn't be coming here. I glare. My relief at the change of topic dissolves into just being annoyed. We've talked this over before. Hey, I figured this out a year ago. I'm not booked up every single night. Madame Doris said it was fine to have a lower paying customer to fill the gaps. Nick keeps frowning. This is part of the job. No guilt needed. So don't you go moping all tonight. That weasel is gonna book me later anyhow. Nick doesn't say anything, which is something he does a lot. Besides, you make up the difference in company. I want to see you, which is more than I can say for most of my clients. Nick smiles at hearing that, even though he's trying to really hard not to. I don't know why. No one else wants to see me. That's only cause you're big and they don't know you're nice, and that's cause you never talk to anyone. Nick rumbles out a deep badger growl, the kind that rumbles in his own chest. Hey, I'm just as mean as the other men. They know what they will lose teeth if they talk to me. Even though he's kidding, I kind of like hearing him talk like that, so I lean in to kiss him on the mouth. This time he lets me. Like always, he leans down a bit, so I don't have to stand on my toes. Our tongues press against each other, his giant muzzle covering mine completely. I grab my paws up I drag my paws up his body, under his shirt, letting my claws gently drag along his skin under the fur. His great body shivers, and his paws are on my back suddenly pull me forward, making me grunt as my crotch comes up against his. I let him go to start stripping off my clothes. And Nick does the same, the two of us stumbling around a little. Nick takes a little longer, needing to be more careful about moving around the small room. I watch as the Bowser steps out of his pants, losing his balance as he does, which sends him shoulder first into the wall. It keeps him upright, but shakes the room a bit, which also shakes his Blackford privates, my sole focus for the past minute. The badger winces. Sorry. I laugh. I'm just glad you didn't burst through the wall into the next room. It's occupied, too. Ah, yes. That would be difficult to explain. That would be real easy, actually, because you're in a whorehouse. What? I thought I was at a saloon. Same thing in these parts. Nick walks slowly towards me, and again I feel that excitement, a chill that makes my fur stand up. I feel helpless under his approach. It's not a feeling that I like in any situation, except while I was with Nick. He can make me do whatever he wants because of his size and his strength, but he doesn't, and I like that. If that's the case, then where's the vodka? Nick looks around the room as he crowds me up against the wall. Sorry, partner, but I only serve one kind of drink. The badger bellows out a laugh, then finally scoops me up in his arms, carrying me like a woman, which I don't like. But the next thing I know, he's laying me on the bed, doing the same thing right next to me. He slides his big arm around my head, bigger than my pillow, and I press up against his side, laying on the top of him, because there's hardly room for two of us. Then he starts rubbing his free paw up and down my arm, turning his head so that my muzzle gets tucked under his. And then we lie there like that. Despite all of the playing around earlier, despite who I am and what I do, this is all we ever do. It's also one of the reasons I justify charging him so little. Nick doesn't want much from our appointments, and that's the reason why I took so much interest in him a year ago. He was barely able to make it through my door our first session, stuttering and looking around and blushing like a blushing bride. But then he just wanted to hold me. Easiest money I've ever made. And that's how it was for a little bit, just talking, being held, and using my paw on him if he was really in the mood. I'd had clients before that wanted to hold me, or be held by me, but Nick is the only one that's ever never asked me to dick him, or even to use my dick on him. He's always a nice break. But after our third or fourth appointment, something changed with his earnings in the mind, and he told me that he wouldn't be able to pay anymore. I'd convinced him to keep coming back, even though he could only could afford a third of my rate. Even then, and even though that meant convincing Madame Dora too. It was worth it, though. Hell, I'd even give up some of my own wages to keep him coming back. Being able to talk to someone who's actually nice and doesn't expect anything from me, I needed that sometimes. I'm not in love with him, really. It's not like what happened with Jack, an instant flare of passion that I still can't understand now. With Nick, I think we both just needed a buddy we can open up to every now and then. So I went through the trouble of keeping him around. I'd have just gone to visit him, but he lives in some cramped shack with a bunch of other miners. So we settled for this. I rubbed my paw against his chest, then down over his big, round, but tout belly. And I can see his halfway hard dick bounce a few times from the treatment. Just a few breaths against me for a while of silence, and I let myself feel just a little peace, something I'd hardly felt over the past month. Of course, that doesn't last. Nick takes a deep breath. Sam? He pauses again, and I feel that familiar ball of stress and despair flare up back in my stomach. What? Sam, there's something I want to ask you. I wait, and I usually don't mind his silent response. This is getting me more worried. You remember when you were beaten near the mine, yes? Shit. I've been beaten up a few times, Nick. I keep my voice steady, rubbing harder, making Nick groan. I was wondering. Nick freezes, voice catching in his throat as I give up and rub his belly and instead just grab his cock. But I was wondering something too. I lean in next to his head, whispering, if you wanted me to take care of this. I had been able to tell that Nick was more heated than usual for the moment he walked in, and I used that against him. Sam! His deep voice moans in my ear, and I look up to see him squinting at me. I only respond with a grin. But I'm not happy, not at all. My heart is pounding in my chest, wondering what the hell I'm doing, what the hell I'm going to do. He knows. I'm just buying time, and somehow it's working. So then, maybe he doesn't know. Maybe he was gonna ask something that had nothing to do with Jack. Maybe I'm jumping the gun. But even as I try to make myself believe that, I know at the same time that that can't be right. Nick isn't stupid, and most anyone can put two and two together. He's at least thinking it might be me, right? But then he really knew it was me. He'd tell. No one would lie down with a murdering whore. And while I'm thinking this, I give him the best that my paw can offer, and it seems to be taking his mind off of what he was saying completely. He's usually content not having anything below his waist toyed with, but he's buckle up right in my paw. I watch his muscles stand out, then relax under the fur each time he does. His massive hip bounce up on the bed, and I actually have to hold on so I don't get buckled to the floor. His powerful body rolls under my work, his biceps tightening under my head, squeezing it for the moment before his paws move lower to hold me by my back. I hadn't seen this coming at all. He's leaking and throbbing already, and it makes me wonder if he gets many chances to take care of business himself. By the looks of things, he doesn't. Sam. He says my name again, but this time it's more longing, full of lust. I start to work him more slowly, my panic settling a bit, thinking again that I'm just being paranoid. I'm able to focus a bit more on what I'm doing, and his hot, throbbing length glides smoothly under each tug I give him. Nick's thrusting calms down a bit, too, so I don't have to worry about falling off the bed. My own hips get lifted up and down with the motion, easy as you like I'm not even weighing down on one side of his body. I attack his neck then, kissing it, even biting it, and Nick responds with a gasp that goes quiet at the end. He's holding his breath while I lick and nip at his throat, only again let out tiny huffs, and at the same time, I feel his cock throb a bunch of times in my paw. I move my muzzle's attention lower, licking his chest where I'm able to smell that deep, earthy, musty smell of the mine. I freeze as that puts me right back into the dark, awful place. I pull away, choosing instead to lick a bit of bushier fur on Nick's chin. He reacts right away, lowering his chin so that we can kiss again. Now I'm really getting into it, because there's not a chance in hell Nick would kiss me if he thought I was a murderer. On top of that, he just let me bite his neck, something lots of people get scared of even if they know you. Nick lets a deep, throaty groan that rumbles into my own mouth. He's close, and now I grin for real. I pull back from the kiss and lean closer to his body, my last downward stroke pushing the skin of his fur far down his length, far enough that his balls are pushing up into his taint. Nick arches, his barrel of a body quivering for a second, like a little earthquake. I let the muscular badger hang there for a few seconds, looking up to his gaping mouth, his eyes wide as he stares at the ceiling. Then I pull up, and that makes him come hard. His arch somehow getting bigger, lifting his ass and lower back off the bed. This lifts me too, practically holding on to his cock to keep me from sliding off of him, working it hard while ropes of his seed blast out over and over onto his chest. His muscular hips, stuck in the air, kept thrusting over and over until the last of his orgasm is done. Instead of flopping back to the bed like I expect, he lowers us both gently, letting out a big, great sigh of exhaustion. Teasingly, I pump his cock a few more times, and the giant jumps under me a few times before pulling my paw off. Nick stares at me with a mixture of shock and confusion. I grin at him, and I'm about to ask if I did a good job, but before I can, he's pulled me against his body, kissing me once again. I straddle Nick's waist, which is almost too wide for me to do comfortably. It's comfortable enough though, and I feel like the feeling of his now soft cock and balls under my rear. I'm leaned forward over on his chest, wiping up the fur, taking a little longer than usual because I've never had a client unleash so much cum before. Nick even seems surprised, and I can't help but feel a little proud of doing that with just my paw. The badger is quiet for now, staring at the ceiling, his big paws behind his head. Now, I gotta ask if you're the one that's all right. Nick takes a deep breath before letting it out. Yes, I was just tired. I hadn't expected for that to happen. I shrug. Me neither, but it looked like you needed it. I suppose I did. It's been a long while. I don't need to get much you don't get much privacy in that shack place you live in. You mean the bunkhouse? Yeah, that place. And you don't have spare rooms with a bunch of men? Yes, but about 8 in a room. Sometimes more if we have a lot more workers at a time. So, you ain't got time to take care of yourself. I bounce my rump gently on the badger's crotch, making him grunt. Ugh. Well, no, not really. That sounds like a terrible situation to be in. Well, if you're desperate, you can find a boulder and crouch behind it. That or an outhouse. I wrinkle my nose and Nick laughs. I know, it's not pleasant. But you can always find a time and place if you must release your tension. Some men don't even hide it. They stroke themselves openly on their bed without as much of a shrug. I stare. Now, why would they do that? When you live in such a place in such close quarters with other men, you just stop caring, I suppose. And they assume that no man would be interested in watching. Have you done that? Of course not. So finding time for yourself is just too out of the way. Well, I have trouble getting aroused when I'm not near someone. I need another body to hold on to, I suppose. I think, frowning. Why don't you just use your imagination? That's what I did until it became my job. I think that I just have a bad imagination. So, you think of moving out of that place? Well, yes. The goal is never to stay in the bunkhouse. You're there until you find a gold vein or strike it rich, or you give up and leave town, whichever comes first. I'm guessing it's usually the latter. Yes, but I've seen 3 men get lucky in my time here, so I'll stick around a while longer. That makes me happy, so I keep cleaning him up before reaching for a bit of dried rosemary that I keep in the bedside drawer. I crush it up and rub it into his chest, hiding the smell of his cum. It's something that I've seen foxes and otters use to cover up their musk smell, but only the dandy ones. Some customers like to have the smell of sex cover up too, especially if the sex smell is anywhere but on their crotch, and they're walking out of the whorehouse where the only male whore is. And Nick lives in the extra. Nick likes to be extra careful. As I'm doing this, though, he sighs again. Sam? Fuck. I keep myself steady, focusing on rubbing the rosemary. Yes? I don't want to ask this. Fuck. Then don't. Most things are best left unsaid. Nick waits patiently for me to finish, and then speaks again. But, did you know Jack? My stomach drops, even though I know this was going to happen, no matter how much I tried to fool myself. Jack? I tilt my head. At the same time, I start to think hard. I'd be able to overpower any of my clients, knock them out, even kill them if I had to. Probably not William, and definitely not Nick. I'd only be able to run. Because Jack bunked with us, and he didn't do a very good job of hiding his presence. He once said that he didn't know how mountain lions could have white fur. I numbly realized that my paws stopped moving. They just rest on Nick's chest. Well, when he didn't show up for work, we all assumed he got tired of the job, but he's been found, and now we know what happened, mostly. I can't put words together in my head. Sam, do you know what might have happened? My mouth opens, but I can't speak, even though I try to say something, to pretend I don't know shit. But when nothing comes out, I have to settle for a weak shrug. Nick sighs deeply, his chest rising against my paw, and it's only then that I realize his massive paws are holding my wrists, gripping my wrists. I'm starting to breathe hard. Sam, I know you're involved somehow. You walked from the mines with a busted head, a beaten face, on the very same day Jack disappeared. I start to pull away from the badger, but he doesn't let go. Let me go. My voice is dead. But Nick doesn't let go. He only holds on tighter, and when I try to lean back to knock against the bed to give me leverage, he leans up and I'm instantly pinned by his strength. Listen to me. I know, Sam. I can see it on your face. But you need to listen to me before you do anything else, because your life depends on it. I stare like an idiot at the badger, wondering how things change so quickly. Apparently I'm bad at lying, even though I had thought I'd been keeping up a pretty good ruse this entire time. With one question, Nick crushes any resistance I had with the simple, obvious truth that he had known the second they found Jack. I didn't even put up a fight. I didn't even try to avoid the badger when I knew he would suspect something. Not suspect, because he knew I killed Jack. I give up. I lay there and just wait. Wait for whatever Nick has in store for me. When the badger sees this, he eases up on the pressure, pulling back a little and loosening his hold. I think about fighting back, kicking him right where I'd been so happy to pleasure him before. Then bite his throat out, like I should have when I was kissing him. Sam, you need to tell me exactly what happened. I swallow hard, which feels almost impossible through my dry throat. You tell William? No. That will depend on what you tell me. Somehow I smile, even though I don't feel like smiling at all. And why do you care what I have to say about it? I expect the badger to be angry, and I kind of want him to be. Maybe then he'd beat me, choke me until I'm dead. Better than what I'd face when the town finds out. I feel like my insides turn to water as I think about what's ahead. But Nick's face turns sad, and he looks deep into my eyes until I have to look away. Because you're a dear friend of mine, and I know you, and I knew Jack. I look at Nick, and I've never seen him look so damn sad before. And I know you would only do such a thing if there was a good reason, and I know someone like Jack could give that reason. So please, tell me the truth, and I'll decide from there. We stare at each other for a while longer. I think. I try to, at least, because I feel so damn confused. Why did Nick let me touch him like that before he asked? It doesn't make sense. I give up finally, going slack on the bed. I want to help you. Liar. Fucking liars. Trusting people is what caused all of this in the first place. But Nick is different from most others. Not like Jack at all, I know that. And I want to believe him, but I can't. But while I can't trust him, I can at least tell him the truth before I get killed. That would be worth something, wouldn't it? Probably not. But I'm stuck in the deepest rut in my life, one I never get out of unless Nick is telling the truth. So I tell the truth. About how I met Jack, about how I fell in love, about the promise of a new life, of the gold and the fight. By the end, tears are leaking out of every corner of my eyes, even though my voice is steady and motionless. I finish the story at the point where Nick saw me stumble away from the mine. He let go of my paw halfway through the story, but I just let them lay at my side, limp. Nick keeps studying me, so I look back at him. Well, could you at least do me a favor and kill me before you turn me in? What? You're going to turn me in or not? I glare at him. He stares back as if thinking then. No. What do you mean, no? I mean, I will not turn you in. I believe you. I'm still numb from whatever happened, so I just go on lying there, staring back at Nick. I don't move until Nick leans over, and already, again I'm ready to kick, but he pulls me up into a hug. I awkwardly lean against him, my legs pushed to the side by one of his giant thighs. I'm sorry, I needed to know. I knew you had a good reason, especially now that I knew he was the one that hurt you, but I needed you to tell me. Nick let me go gently, and I sit there next to him on the bed, not daring to believe him. But if he's really not going to rat me out, I might have a chance. It would be better than having to make a run for it. As if he read my mind, just then, Nick takes another deep breath. I know you might not trust me now, but hear this. I know you're telling the truth about Jack's attempt. The same trick with one of the other miners. A tiger named Yao. He's good. He's a good, trustworthy man. He told me that Jack said that he found a bag of gold in the mine and needed help hauling them out. He told Yao that they would sneak the gold out of the without handing over the owner's share. I wipe my eyes quickly, still not trusting, but kind of hopeful. I still feel like I've been beaten up all over again, my head throbbing with every heartbeat. Did Yao have money? No, but Yao had some valuable possessions he kept in the bunker safe. Jack told him to bring those so that they could make a quick escape. Wow, now I feel stupid, because that sounds like the dumbest fucking scam I've ever heard. Well, you were certainly far too hasty, and I wish you would have said something about this to me. I laugh in a way that sounds kind of crazy to me. Well, yeah. That would have stopped all of this from happening in the first place. Not just about Jack, but about you leaving. I prefer to say goodbye to my friends. I let out a long, shuddered breath, suddenly exhausted. I'll make sure to let you know next time I skip town. You're not going to run away tonight? You think I should? No. I think you should do it later, to avoid suspicion. I am the only person who saw you coming from the mine. The only evidence of you being there was your money and your wounds. The money does not matter. You made a believable story about the wounds, and though it could draw some suspicion, it is not proof. I shrug. Doesn't matter if the town decides I'm guilty. Most don't know you, and William is on your side, isn't he? I smile in a beaten sort of way. I don't know. I really don't. I think he'd hang me if he knew. Not if he knows the truth. I give Nick a hard look. I'm not telling William. I know. It's best not to right now, but I want to help you. We can make plans to keep you safe, even leaving Echo eventually, if that's what you want. I try hard to come up with an answer. I'd want to leave. Of course. I think we should start by getting that money back. No one mentioned finding coins. I hadn't even considered going back for my money. Why would I after what I went through? But I left out those parts. The parts where the devil himself came after me. I don't know if I can make myself go back there. But I nod anyway, because I don't want to explain something I can't. All right. You should sleep for now. Would you like me to spend the night? Yeah. I say it automatically before I could even think. Maybe it's so I could keep an eye on him, or maybe it's because I want to believe I can trust someone. Maybe I'll run whenever he's asleep. Trust in the desert more than this badger to save me. Either way, Nick just smiles again, pulling me close. Yeah, I think that's a good stopping place. So, yeah. Yeah, see you around, everyone.